secret, baby.
Wait a minute. This is a Christian show.
Commercial for them. It's so much that are going on in the church now, to where now it's starting to look like a TEDx church.
Yeah. My God.
Who is the CFO of the house?
I am. Ready?
Well, the Greens, this is interesting.
Oh, Kelsey, you're on our side.
I hate to have to go with the women on this because I ride with the fellas, but I don't know, Chris. I don't know if I can coach them.
Hey, friends. Listen, I am so excited. We are here today with season 4 premiere. Wow, 4 seasons. So I'm so excited about this episode. Listen, Linda, listen, Larry's out there. Go ahead and share. In case you don't know who I am the host and creator of the Spoken Truth Talk Show. I'm your girl, Brandy. And tonight we have a very, very special episode of All in the Family segment. And so in case you don't know about All in the Family, it's a show that I bring on my family, and in the future we may bring on other families, but we bring on families to talk about their issues, kind of work through things that happened prior to, but we put a twist on it. We kind of minister to those wounds that we had previously. So whether it's father wounds, mother wounds, even daddy issues, whatever dysfunctions that you had in your family, we kind of talk about it, sort through it, and many people can relate, right? Because there's no perfect family. Okay, so we love to talk about things that's going on, and then we kind of bring it back to the Word of God, and it caused so much healing to so many people. And me, my family, if I had to be the forerunner to talk about it and kind of go deep, because we're very transparent, then fine, so be it. But I want people to know, it's okay. Like, God got you, and there's no perfect family, and it's okay if you have dysfunction, because Lord knows my family is dysfunctional. They on here too. They gonna get me. But I'm just keeping it real. So go back and watch all of the previous All in the Family episodes. We have part 1 with my mom. Part 2, we have my sisters. Then we have my sisters and childhood friends. And now tonight, okay? Tonight is so amazing because I have my first cousin. His name is Marshawn Watson, and he have an adorable daughter, okay? A 27-year-old daughter that, oh my gosh, she have so much intellect and knowledge, and she wrote a 120-page book, okay, telling you about her story. And so, guys, we pre-recorded this, I'm gonna be honest, but I'm on here live, so I see all my friends. As a matter of fact, real quick, let me just shout out my friends that's in the comments, okay, because it's rolling. We have my cousin Coco in the building. We have Juanita. You guys know who Juanita is. We have Lisa Jean, our super friend. We have Natalie, our super friend to the show. So shout out to both of them. We have my sister Dion. She's in the building. Love you, friend. We have Sharon in the building. That's my other cousin. Y'all seen her on the very first episode of The Spoken Truth. And so you'll hear more about her within the show. And you probably seen our intro. So we made sure we include her in the intro because she was like the most popular of that season, okay? And so with her little quotes. And we have my husband, my boo, my man. He's on here. Love you, honey. And also, guys, we have Detavia. Detavia is Millennial Speak host, so you'll see more of them this season. I have my auntie in the building. I have Lee in the building. Hi, Lee. And so, listen, we're going to get started. If you out there, go ahead and chat. Go ahead and share. Hi, cousin. Hi, Joy. I have all of my family here because, hey, it is All in the Family episode. So, listen, go share with your friends. If you have not followed us on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe, and then hit the bell notification so you'll know when we on. So listen, follow us, share with your friends right now because this episode is so amazing, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. So listen, I am going to welcome my little cousin, Toko Watson, with her book. She's going to talk about Gracefully Broken to China. So you got to hear this testimony. And also my cousin, Marshawn Watson, which is her father, and then her lovely mother that we all grew up with, Takisha Watson. So you guys go ahead and check out their story. I'll be watching you in the chats. We pre-recorded this, so I'm going to go ahead and let them into this television screen, your television screen, your phone, your iPad, your computer, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and let them in. So thank you guys so much for joining. I cannot wait to till y'all hear this. So let me just shush, zip it, and let them on in. Hey, cousin!
Hey, girl!
I'm so excited to have you on the show. Listen, God is so amazing because He always brings things back full circle. And so I'm so excited for you to be on the show because you're my second cousin. So you're my first cousin's daughter. And so I hold this interview is very, very special to me because me and your dad grew up together. We kind of lived together at grandma's house. And so our relationship have always been strong. However, Toco, when you were younger, I didn't see much of you, but I kind of followed what was going on with you. And so this story is going to be so amazing. So listen, y'all, hold on to your seats. Okay, because my little baby cousin has written a book, okay? And this book is so off the chain. Listen, some of it I was like, oh, Lord, TMI. I don't want to know that. So did your daddy read this book?
Yep.
Father, I know he was just like.
I meant to block out some of his book, that part, but he got full-fledged.
Nah, he got all things. And so this book, first of all, oftentimes when I purchase books, it's probably like 20 pages of a story. But you had, I'm not even going to lie, I could not read all of it because it's so much. So I'm still reading. I think I made it to page 70, but then I skimmed through the back so I can make sure I get the front story. And so with that being said, it's like 120 pages, okay? It's really a full book. And the book is called Gracefully Broken to China. So we're going to talk about that today, guys. Listen, if you up in those comments, look in the description, okay? And go ahead and purchase this book. I have the link below. Guys, purchase the book. It is so amazing. There's so much detail. It's going to help you out, okay? And so let's go straight into the interview because I don't even want to delay the hour, okay? Let's go straight into this interview. First, tell the people a little bit about you.
Okay, so I'm 27. I'm a mom. I am been married, divorced. I was a choreographer and dancer. I went to China. That's why the book is called Gracefully Broken to China. Had an adventure there. That's where I got married and had my son. And yeah, I'm an author. I am a health and life coach. I teach, dance still. And yeah,
You make us feel old now. You make us feel real old. Talking about 27. That part. Don't even tell nobody you're 27, okay? 27. Nah, but that's amazing. You experience so much at this age, okay? And so we're going to minister to the people today. We're going to let it all out. Okay, we're going to go there. We're not going to hold nothing back, okay? Because that's why this show is called The Spoken Truth. Okay, and being the season premiere, I love All in the Family segments because we talk about family things. We talk about real issues, real topics, because there's no perfect family, okay? And so we want to really minister to the people and let them see us. You know what I'm saying? Because so often that families, they have this mask, okay? But in our family, we have been through so much. And so I love being transparent. That's why I love your book. It's very transparent. And so we want the people to really walk with you. Okay? And so these questions that I have is going to get a little deep, okay? And so hold on to your seats, Takora, okay? That part. All right? So tell everyone, how was it like growing up in St. Louis?
So my experience growing up in St. Louis, if you would have seen it looking at if you would had a camera, it would have been very different than what I actually experienced. I say that to say I grew up in the hood on 13th Street in Warren, right around the corner from 14th Street Mall, right around the corner from Crown's Candy, which was the hood.
The hood, okay?
The hood.
I lived over there too on 20th and Warren, so I know what you're saying. All right.
And on Mother's Day one year, we cleaning the house for my mom, and somebody gets shot right next. We lived in a 3-family flat. They shoot up the house, white wine outside. But to be honest, I didn't experience the hood living. because inside the home, my mom created a culture and an environment that didn't allow that to seep in the house. So we were raised Muslim. We kind of experienced, we always knew about like this higher thinking, you know, that there was more to life. We experienced different cultures. We went to school kind of out in the county. Even though we did have our friends that lived right down the street, like getting chased by dogs up and down the street, you know, we still had that life, but we didn't go past the block.
Yeah.
You know, lights was off. When the street lights off, we was in the house. So my experience growing up in the hood, even though I experienced a lot, somehow it didn't seep in. If that makes sense.
That makes great sense. You wasn't a product of your environment.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Some of us was, but you wasn't.
Yeah, so that's why it's very different. I got to experience it firsthand, but it still didn't mentally or emotionally shape who I end up becoming. It did in a sense, but not really.
Not really.
So I loved growing up in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I still love St. Louis. I know a lot of people have their icks and nicks, and yes, I did move away for a little bit, but I love it still. It's still like home.
Yeah. Interesting. So you wrote this book, okay? Gracefully Broken to China. And this book actually kind of revealed parts of your life. And you guys, I have her mom and dad that's waiting in the green room. So they're going to come on the second half of the show. But you talked about many things in this book, okay? So what really inspired you to write this book, and why was it important for you to tell your story? Because you dive deep, okay? You go there, but in the same path, you also cultivated the things of God and talked about the struggles, but brought it back to the Word of God. And that's what I love. I love transparency, but some people can be transparency and leave the people there. There's no ministering. There's no talk about deliverance. But you actually talked about your story, and then you minister too, okay? So tell us what inspired you and why was it important to tell your story?
So what inspired me was just the fact that I was able to leave. So I inspired me, my son. So when I left, it was if I would have looked at it on paper and somebody would have wrote out, you know, the circumstances in which I had to leave, I shouldn't have made it. So I shouldn't have been here. My son shouldn't have been here. Me and my son were on the run for 2 weeks, skipping house to house because my ex-husband was connected, was powerful. He had friends from immigration watching us. He had friends that are in the army that were watching the cameras from each house that we were moving from. He thought I would come back, so I was like 3 days away actually from, you know, I had moved three spaces, so he was late. So I shouldn't have been here. So I knew once I made it, touchdown in New York, because that's where we landed first, that I was like, and I still wasn't totally like, okay. But I'm like, I have to tell this story because I should not be here. There's only one reason why I'm here, and it's because I have to tell this story. Because the stories that I heard once I came back is of women that didn't make it. So I was like, I shouldn't have been here. So if I'm here, God... and somebody asked me that right when I came back. They were like, why do you think God put you through that? And I was like, I don't necessarily think he put me through it. I just believe that if I was going to go through it, I was the perfect one because he knew that I would come out on the other end.
Boom. Yeah.
And I was like, I held that cross. I held that like,
Come
okay.
on.
I have to tell it because somebody is going to need this. And if I did go through that and took myself through that, the enemy not finna get that one.
Come on. So
So
like you said, it was many people that went through this and didn't make it out. I can tell you now, I had 2 friends that was in abusive relationship, psychopathic people that were disturbed already, and so they brought that mess into the relationships, and the turnout was they unfortunately passed away. And so your story really gripped me. I shed a couple of tears not knowing the full story. And so let's talk about that. You ended up in the dance industry and entertainment, and that was one of my one of my path that I crossed. End up getting out at a very good timing of my life, and so you ended up in China. Now you was 19 years old, right? When you went to China. And with that, you may have thought that you met your knight in shining armor. You may have thought you met the man of your dreams. And let me tell you something. I thought I met a lot of knight in shining armors. And they ended up, baby, they ended up being an armor, all right. An armor to my head. So, that part. And so, this turned out to be one of the most difficult, tragic times of your life. Meeting this guy in China, you went there on a mission to do what you definitely was called to do, were dance. A lot of people just doing dance, but honey, you got it. Okay, and now teaching it. So you had to cross this path. But I believe a lot of people say, like you said, it was the devil, it was the devil. Sometimes our own decisions. It ain't always the devil. We put ourselves in situations. It ain't the enemy all the time, because you can say yes, you can say no. Okay? Yeah. And so in this situation, you thought you met your knight in shining armor. And tell us this story. Tell us a little bit about what happened. You know, if you can sum this up, tell us a little bit about what happened.
To be honest, he wasn't. I think he wasn't my knight in shining armor, really. He was a story, and, so I didn't pay attention. Let me explain this. I did it. He owned clubs and he owned restaurants there. And I was the new girl in town, the new team. So it's very small. It's kind of like St. Louis, big, but very small. So everybody kind of knows everybody if you end up in the nightlife. And we would perform at clubs and stuff like that. And so he had already seen me before I even paid him any attention, because it was already a talk of kind of like a new team coming in. There's an American team that's coming in, and the eye was just kind of on our team from people. And then everybody parties together. The rich party, like you wouldn't know who is who in the environments. So I ignored him for a nice little minute, like, because I've never been that type of person. He was flashy, he'd drive around in a Ferrari, and like that just wasn't me. But one day, sitting and talking with him, you don't judge a book by its cover. I seen that there was more to him, that he had a story, that he was, really, he had came into a lifestyle that he didn't really want. And that just kind of course, that always gets you when that always how they get you. So that part, I fell for the heart posture of him. And he just still had demons that I didn't quite know or understand, and couldn't even have the capacity at that time to really understand what was going on.
I mean, you were 19 at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, so that's kind of what happened. And then in that, his persistency just kind of kept, and that's where, and then I look back and I'm like, dang, we lived together. When did this happen? So that's kind of what happened. It was just the persistency. And when I look back at it, I was like, dang, like, we here. Like, what's going on? And then it was just, that's kind of how it really actually kind of happened.
So how long before you knew him? So now, let me just say this. He showed you that life, right?
Yeah.
And so at this point, you was sheltered from the world, but you knew the world, right? And so you came into this situation really probably naive, right? You meet this guy, you going on a mission. Yeah, real green. You met this guy, he got it all, Of course, just like commercials, they're going to will you in some way, somehow. They're going to deal with a person's emotions, right? And so he dealt with that emotion. He told you his story, and then he was intriguing. And from what I read, he had like 3 or 4 languages, right?
He speaks about 10 languages.
Wow. So this guy you're looking at like, oh, he's smart, he's intelligent, he have money, he living that life. And so now it went from meeting him, ignoring him, liking him, moving in with him, And now let's go to how the day it really happened, the abuse. Okay.
Yeah.
How long before you actually knew him that now you was actually being abused?
I say it was a good 3 months.
Mm.
So it wasn't long. It happened within like the first 3 months.
That first day that it happened, what was going through your head and what happened?
So what was going through my head was still a disbelief. I don't think I actually grasped what I had been through until I was out of what I had been through. And I think that's a dangerous space sometimes to be. And that's what it was. Like I was like, because I talk about in my book as well that my trigger wasn't the abuse. My trigger and my points are words. So that abuse healed. Like I knew it was bad and stuff like that. But the thing that really hits home for me are words. So not to, I would say like he was abusive, but the worst thing he probably ever called me was Toco. My real name's Toko. He would call me Toco. Other than that, I never got disrespected or called out my name. And in my head, since that wasn't yet, it hadn't yet hit that point, I was okay because the word, the abuse, the scars healed, stuff like that. I would eventually be okay because it wasn't that point for me. Words hit her home for me because they replay in my head because I'm an overthinker. So I had that part I had to understand. And even in my book, even in my journey, I start recording myself because I knew the scars would heal and I would forget because like I said, it wasn't my point of the tip over. So I started recording myself in each stage to remind myself like, okay, you do have to leave. You do have to. So
You start writing in a journal and you start recording what was going on. So you had a journal, you record what's going on.
Yeah.
So once you read that, because like you said, the scar is healing. That's really good. We're going to stick a nickel and a meter on that. We're going to go back to that. And so you kept this journal and you start writing out what would happen, your thoughts, how you felt when it happened. And so at this point, you literally was being abused physically. But those scars, I mean, that would heal. Mentally, you was battling something, right? Because in the beginning, he wasn't calling you out your name and stuff. Did he start calling you out your name along with the abuse? No. He would just literally just hit you.
Yeah.
So tell us about the first day that he hit you. What was going on?
So I went on my first concert to Justin Bieber. And he got me and my friends tickets to go to a concert. Because we stayed right next to the stadium and stuff like that. So we went on the concert and we had a friend that he had stayed with us. And that friend, he said, came and checked up on us. So while I'm at the concert, he's texting me, telling me, where'd you go last night? And I'm just thinking it's crazy. I'm just like, I don't know what he talking about. So when we come back that night, and I go get my stuff so we can go perform because we had a performance that night. He wants to talk to me and he's talking about this. And in my head, he's like, where'd you go? In my head, at the first sign, it was like, oh, he's being protective. He was wondering where I was at last night. I'm literally like, in my head, I'm like, oh, that's cute, until he's like, well, let's go check the cameras. And I'm like, let's go check the cameras. As we walk into the cameras, I'm like, this sounds crazy. And it comes out my mouth. As soon as it comes out my mouth, bah. And I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. Did it just hit me? And then again. So where now I'm running. Like I have to run back to the house to get my phone because my phone was upstairs. And so I'm like, I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to leave. So that whole run and chase, because now he's chasing me. And I hurry up and get the phone. Because I go up the elevator and he goes up the steps. So I didn't got back down before he didn't got down and back. And I jump in the taxi because my friend had waited for me while this happened. This is like I wouldn't even say 15 minutes, like just so quick. And I get in the taxi and I realize, and I'm like, he hit me. Like he hit me. And my friend is like, who hit you? Who hit you? And I'm like, he hit me. Like, he just hit me. And so we go to I go to work and I don't talk to him. I don't text him. I don't, like, I'm just like, oh, this is too crazy. And I left so many times. Like, not even times I can count.
Why did you go back?
That same thing that I had to realize that, like, even when I left this last time, the last house that I stayed at, the man, he was a really nice, one of the Asian ladies that helped me. She owned a club there as well. She had sent me out of the town, so I was like an hour, 2 hours away, to this man that had, an estate that he allowed us to stay in, and he was like, "I'll help you get back on your feet." And I told him, he was like, "Whatever you need, I'll do it, because I hear your story. I want to help, and I have artists that you can do." And I was like, "No, I have to actually leave, because I can't trust myself to not go back, because once it heals, you go through this process in the brain, and the brain will replay and make sure, it'll ask you, like God will ask you, are you sure? The enemy, you get tempted in the wilderness, because my wilderness was going to come, and he was going to ask me, are you sure? And I was like, I can't trust myself to not go back, because that's going to happen. That's what the brain wants to do. It's going to go through familiar. If a song comes on, you're going to miss them. You're going to remember the good times. That is a process of the brain that's going to happen. And you have to ask yourself, and you have to put in the right systems at that place. And that's what I had to do. So I was like, I can't just be in the same country, because I don't know what's going to happen. So I went back, because I didn't understand how it really works. That yes, you're going to miss him. You can't go back. Yes, he's going to say his sweet nothings. You can't go back. So I couldn't trust myself, because there's a part of me that would have went back.
Wow. So, wow. This is really good. The day you left, now, at this point, you was with him for how long before you left?
3 years.
3 years. And at this time, you had a child. How old was your child?
He was 8 months when I left.
Wow. And you have a beautiful son. And he was... Right. And he was he was 8 months, and 3 years into the relationship, you actually left. And so your book, page 32 of the book, if you guys just joining, my little cousin, she have a book called Gracefully Broken to China. You can get more information and description, and go order it from Amazon. And it's a full book. It's 100 and some pages, quiver to quiver. It's full and it's loaded. And so very transparent book. And so in here you quoted, nothing happened but a voice that said that it was time. Okay. And you also said that he left for the night, didn't say goodbye, no argument, no fuse, and had been cool for days. I went and started packing and waited for his cousin to leave on errands for him. And I called a cab, placed our bags on my son's stroller, my hope, strapped to my chest, and then left and never looked back. Let's talk about this day, because I know there was a buildup, to this point. And in here you said how you had a plan, and it even was a part of you like, whoa, I'm finna do this. I'm leaving, like I'm about to do this. Prior to that, like you said, your emotions got involved, and then you start thinking about the good, and those wounds those scars, I shouldn't say wounds, those scars have healed, and so you began to think about the good and not what actually happened, which was a lot of bad, and so you would actually go backwards. And songs, let me talk about this. Let me stop right there. Songs, I tell people all the time, watch what you listen to, because there's power in music. I myself don't listen to a lot of different type of music, because a lot of music can affect your emotions, and you begin to replay things that happened then. There's music coming all different types of languages to your body and your soul that can pull you backwards. And so I'm very careful with music. And so like you said, it'd be songs that you have played that remind you of him and the good, and it'll trigger something, and that emotion will drive you back to him. And so at this point, though, there was none of that music, none of that. You was like, you know what? I'm about to do this. You had a plan, okay? The St. Louis came out in you because St. Louis is about survival, okay? And so using survival mode. And so the day you left, tell us about that. Tell our friends of the show about that and how you got out.
So the day I left, leading up to it, I had started planning. My planning took a course of 8 months. I mean, it's crazy that I left it started when because we got up married a month before I had my son. And when I had my son and I saw that he was in the crossfire as well, I was like, okay, that was a tipping point for me as well. Since I didn't have the words, God is so good. When he would leave for days at a time, I start getting silent, and I start honoring the silent and praying and meditating. At that time, I knew knew little of a relationship with God and what that really looked like. Because, like I said, I was born I was born with Muslim practices. I walked into a church at 12 and got baptized, not really knowing, but God knew. And then my journey from Scientology to other, Buddhism, religions, I've had a melting pot of experiences. The fact is, that day I said, I knew something was happening because I couldn't get in contact with my family. And usually they're 12 hours behind us. So I'm like, this is a time that I could usually get in contact with my mom. Nobody was answering my dad. Nobody was answering my sister and my auntie. Nobody was answering. For me to say, I had told them so many times I'm leaving. But for me to say it, I was like, nobody was there. And I was like, okay. In my head, not that this is what happened, is that they won't believe me. They won't believe me if I say I'm actually leaving. So I sat in the room and I was quiet, and something said it's time. And I'm like, it was a peace. It was a peaceful it's time. So I just start packing. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I literally, if I could explain the emotion, it was just peace. It was just peace. It was nothing. And I told, and I tried to call somebody and say something, but it was nothing. It was as if God was telling me, this has to come from you. You have to know what it's like to hear my voice. So if they do answer, you're going to get their voice. If you do tell somebody, you're not going to understand that this is me, because what's going to go down and how this is going to happen, you can only hear me. So I think that was my first inkling of really hearing God's voice. So I packed a bag, and usually I know if he's going to be out for a minute, he's going to ask his cousin to come run some errands, because we had one of his family members living with us at the time, which is like his watchdog and errand dog. So he had him kind of watching me, making sure I wasn't leaving or doing anything. Yeah. So when he left, it was like 3:00 in the morning. And I was like, okay. I called a taxi. I had already packed our bags quietly. I just grabbed all of his stuff, for real. I grabbed me like a couple of outfits, and I'm like, I'm just going to be able to book a flight and be gone, I couldn't find our passports, because he would always take our passports. But by the grace of God, 3 days before, my son's passport and visa had came in the mail. So I hid it. And he, for some reason, didn't ask for it. Or he didn't know it had came. I seen it in the mail. He hadn't been there. But he always took my passport, just in case I always tried to leave. So I had hid it. His social security card had came. I hid it, and I put that in the bag. And I was like, okay. I called the taxi. I put our stuff in the taxi. And I was like, okay, I'm not going back. 5 minutes after getting out of the gate, like 2 minutes after getting out of the gate, he texted. But it was like a normal text. It was like, you guys are fine. It's usually like his guilt trip text he would do. Like, I'll send you money.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
So nothing happened prior to the day that you was going to leave? He did not know abuse was going on, or none of
No.
that. He just thought it was fine. So when you got that text, you knew he didn't know nothing was up. Okay,
Nothing
go
was
ahead.
up. He didn't know. So he was just like, I'm gonna send you some money on WeChat, which you could send money. It's kind of like Cash App. Cash App in China. So he sent some money just for us to get something to eat for that day. So I'm like, I knew, okay, he's gonna be gone for a couple of days. He didn't know. My dad ended up texting me, and I ended up getting in contact with my dad. I did talk to my dad and told him that I had left, and he was making sure I was okay. And then I got a text and a call from him and his cousin. So I was guessing, and that was not even 10 minutes. His cousin had made it back to the house. So if I would have left or not listened to that voice when it said it, I would have been.
That was totally the Lord. That was
the
the Lord.
The Lord, because it was not even 10 minutes. Like, I had not even made it totally out of, like, the complex. And I'm like, I just missed him.
Did he send you the money, though?
Yeah, he had sent the money, but then I guess he called me. His cousin called first, and then he called, and I didn't answer. I didn't answer the call. So I'm like, okay, they know. He texted me, and that was the last thing. He's like, just think about what you're doing and if it's going to end the way you want it to end. And after that, I blocked them both. And I went to the embassy because I had planned months before that. I would say we going somewhere, like we went to the aquarium, and I took my son. He let me take the son to the aquarium, but I went to the embassy instead. And I had been contacting with the embassy, letting them know what I was going through, and they had been sending information through my mom. And then whenever I would talk to her, she would give me the information because I started documenting the abuse. Because they said that I would need that for a divorce, but I don't know. I was just documenting the stuff and whatever I could get hold of, because when he would be abusive, he would take the phones and computers, anything, any way for me to communicate with anybody until I healed.
Wow.
So, but this time he did it, and I had scars on my back and my neck, and he hadn't seen it yet, and I would hide it so he didn't see it. So when he gave me the stuff back, I still had the scars that I sent to my mom and sent to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow. So, I want to talk about so much, but I'm not, because we're going to bring your mom and dad in shortly, in just in a few minutes. You guys got to go get the book. She went through 2 weeks of torture trying to get home. Like she said in the beginning, he knew people. He was very connected. So even people with the embassy, he knew so many people, officers. They would actually have cameras, because in China, there's cameras everywhere. It's not like United States, okay? So even when they had the pandemic shutdown, they was able to trace off camera. So it's totally connected in China. And so it was very difficult for her to even leave. And so it took her 2 weeks traveling with an 8-month-old just to leave China to get over to the United States. And so it's a lot in that, but we're going to do a cliffhanger and leave you hanging so you can go ahead and get the book, because it was so juicy, but so God. And so I want you guys to just get this book. I'm telling you, it's for real. It's serious. And so I want to ask you this. Before I bring in mom and dad, they're about to come in. Once the day that you actually left, you never came back. Without telling too much, did you ever talk to him again, or do you have any type of communication with him now?
Yeah, I did talk to him again. When I came back, within 3 months, I had been back home. I had started over everything, and no, it was like 6 months. My son, we passed a picture because I was going through old pictures out of my iCloud to delete them all, and I thought my son said, "Dad, let the enemy play," And so I reached out, and I talked to him for maybe like a day or two. He kind of asked his questions, and he was still just the same. And then I seen again the manipulation, or kind of like, and I had to jolt back into it. And I was like, okay, I know this is going to happen. Okay, this is a part of it. Like, even my son can be used, the enemy. I mean, or what I think, is supposed to happen.
Yeah,
and replaying, like, I took my son, like, in my head, it was, I took my son away from his father. Like, I'm back. Like, everything the enemy will use, just to ask you, are you sure? And so I stopped. And then, 3 years ago, people reached out to me and was like, did you hear that he, from China, they told me, did I hear that he had went to jail? There was a case, and he drugged, and her dad was a French ambassador. So they came and seized all of his stuff. And then he got out this past January, 2021.
Wow.
And I had, his family reached out to me, and I wanted to see, I was just curious. I'm like, maybe God just did something miraculous, and maybe he's a different person. And because one day I was like, I had to see. And I talked to him, and I could just see it in his eyes. I used to always be able to see his eyes.
It tells it all. Yeah.
It tells it all.
And
I could just see, and I said, this is, I was like, yep, he's still the same.
Wow.
And that was the last January.
Last January. Wow. So listen, listen. We're gonna allow Takora to really minister to people that was one and the same, people that went through what she went through. We're definitely gonna get to that on the second half. But I want to go all the way back and really tell her story, and so that you can get a glimpse of, her family, what she experienced, and also hear her mom and dad. And so we're going to go ahead and let them in, okay? Takora, you ready to let them in?
Yeah.
Are you a little shy? Takora? Because you look like, and so, oh, snaps. And so we're going to go ahead and let her mom and dad in. Hey, cousins!
Hey, what's going on?
Listen,
What's
happening, guys? I know y'all was back there in the green room. So, guys, let me just personally introduce my cousin, Marshawn Watson. This is my first cousin on my mom's side. So his mom and my mom are sisters. And so we grew up in the same houses, okay? You see, I put an S at the end of that. Because I sometimes live with them. We live with our grandmother. We live with our cousin houses. We lived all over the place. But honestly, even though we had a crazy upbringing, a crazy childhood, I can say he made it fun, okay? Because he was he just Marshawn, y'all. What can I say? And so actually I had to repent, because me and him used to get into it over silly stuff. And now I have a son that I'd be like, oh Lord, he has some of the same characteristics as you. And they pretty much love the same thing, which is basketball. And so we was very close. We was like sisters and brothers living in the same home. And so also Marshawn had a baby at 16 years old. And so there you have Takisha Hardieway. They both were 16. They were babies. And she been around our family for such a long time. So if they have a 27-year-old daughter, just imagine how long she's been around our family. We grew up at that, well, I shouldn't say we grew up, but we all grew up on the south side, but also we was around the same area. And so we knew her and her family. And so Takisha, I just want to introduce her sweet spirit. And so, she's so sweet, always been sweet, always been known by her smile and just her ray of sunshine. Okay. And you guys raised such a beautiful daughter. And so you guys, wow, you was in that green room. What was you thinking when you was hearing this story actually coming out of her mouth, even though you probably heard it now, but to hear her on the interview telling her story, starting with you, Takisha?
Wow, it is still heartbreaking. It's still heart-wrenching to hear that, because that's my baby. So when I hear her tell a story, though, it still makes me proud, because she has healed from it. She can still tell a story without cracking and crying and bawling.
Yes. Oh my
So
gosh.
the strength that she displays is just amazing to me, with all that she's been through.
Yeah.
So, but I still kind of drop a tear,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
because
And
it's
Marshawn,
hard.
it's hard. And Marshawn, with you being daddy, okay, how did you feel hearing her tell this story? Have you heard it outside of the book?
Bits and pieces of it, a little bit here and there, but not the whole story. So just hearing it and hearing the tone of what she went through, it's rough as a father, where I couldn't do anything, what I'm saying, couldn't protect her. So
Yeah.
it's rough, it's still tough, yeah, to this day, since the first time I heard it, just hearing it again, it replays emotions and everything. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah. That's pretty tough because I know you guys as parents is tough. I mean, me reading it as her second cousin, I was just like, oh, wait, And listen, I love the Lord, okay? He and save me. Won't he do it? But
Yes, he will.
won't he do it? But my
Yes,
emotions was like, wait a minute, the hood came out of me reading some of that, And so I can only imagine how you guys were feeling. And so I'm glad you guys are on the show so we can kind of talk a little bit about your story as well, because her story is your story. You birthed this beautiful young lady. And so Marshawn and Keisha, you had Toco at the age of 16 years old. What were you thinking, okay, Keisha, when you found out you were pregnant?
Ooh, Jesus. So, good Lord.
Because y'all was just being fast. Y'all both was being fast, okay?
Baby, grown.
I mean,
Look,
And
don't
he gonna
start.
wait, he gonna say
Don't
not
start.
me. Did you just hear
Don't
that?
start.
It takes
Yeah.
two. It takes two. But go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Go ahead, Keisha.
But the thing that went through my head when I first realized that I was going to have this baby, okay, because it was times, of course, going through those trimesters that I was like, oh Jesus, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? What's going to happen? I'm thinking about my life as far as what I know as far as school going, all of that good stuff, expectations that was put on me, being a smart child, being whatever. But the thing that I've most realized and I remember most is that no, it's time to grow up. You're a full woman now, and what's going to save you is your education, and what's going to save her is your education. And so, yeah, it was immediately a 360 from being a teenager to being a woman. That's what it was for me.
Wow. So, Marshawn, did you feel like you were trapped? Now, this question, look at her. She's like, I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah.
This question come by because, as you know, you guys were teens, and the first thing, of course, wait a minute, she's trapping him, and we want the true emotion, right? Did you feel like you were being trapped?
to be honest, when I first heard everything, I thought I was. And the reason I say I thought it was because we weren't even in a relationship at the time. I was in a whole another relationship at the time. So that's why I thought, okay, what? No, really, what? We're not even together. So on that part of it, yes. And then plus, I was playing ball.
And you was really good ball player too. You was. So
threes.
right, he was hitting them. And so you felt like you were being trapped. Keisha, I'm pretty sure things was going through your head like, oh my gosh. Did you ever think? Go ahead.
I wasn't even studying him. You know what I mean? This was all on me. It wasn't no thing of like I had to trap him or anything. I wasn't even studying him.
You wasn't studying him.
Yeah, no.
Right.
No, not
So
at all.
you wasn't even studying a little tall, dark, and handsome.
Nah. wasn't even a factor. It wasn't even a factor.
First of all, y'all, they have a crazy, funny relationship. She said it's the spoken
They so
truth.
funny.
Yeah, they have a funny relationship. They do.
Not finna go there.
So let me say this. So now you guys have a child. To Keisha, was it pressure to abort the child? What was your mom saying? What was people saying? What was friends saying?
Sure. My mom was very supportive. She was like, you're gonna have this child regardless of your of the baby daddy, and we gonna help you take care of it. I was putting more pressure on myself to abort her or try to somehow abort this mission.
Abort.
Yeah, I was definitely trying to abort the mission. You know what I mean? But there again, uh as time passed, like there was no getting out of this. There was no running away from it. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
time to be accountable for my mistakes or what
Your
I've done,
actions,
my
yeah.
actions. Yeah, my actions. And so yeah, from my friends though, they were shocked. My friends were shocked. Like, what in the heck? Where you been? What you doing? You're
Yeah.
supposed to be this. You're supposed to do that. I'm very close with my dad's side of the family, so they were really like disappointed. They were disappointed. I was supposed to be this lawyer or this engineer. So many high expectations on that side. But other than that, the emotional trauma that I went through was just more like you have to face it, and now you got a baby to raise.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Marshawn and Keisha, I want you to answer this question. Marshawn, you actually finished high school and you went off to college. What was going on in your head having a baby back home because you went off to college? What were some of your regrets and what was some of your promises during this time?
I mean, at that time, getting ready to go to school, I actually had a conversation with Keisha about this decision, me going off to school, her chances, what she got going on before I made that decision. Plus, it was more of my upbringing as well.
Hmm.
My father not being there. So, it was more the sense of I didn't get that. So, I didn't have that structure as a father figure. So, I went on and did my thing. I ran from, I ain't gonna say ran. I didn't want to accept those responsibilities at that time because I was trying to play ball, trying to get out the hood, trying to be the first one to go to school, college. A whole street on my back, pushing me to go to school, play ball, all that. So it was it was tough, but it wasn't tough at the time to make that decision because I was trying to run from those responsibilities, but still, you know, take care of my life, do what I got to do. So it really didn't hit me until my sophomore year in college that I had a daughter at home. So
Hmm.
so I thought my career was over with from a foot injury. And I came back home, and I started thinking. I actually got time to sit down and start thinking because I was at home in bed. Foot thought my career was over with. So and that's when really hit me my sophomore year that I had a daughter and I needed to change that cycle of the cycle that I went through.
Yeah, because
So
you went through, you had father wounds, and of course, even though your mother was in your life, we experienced so much trauma with our parents, because this was the 80s, then the early 90s, so you got to look at it. It was the crack cocaine epidemic, and then we had grandparents raising children, and then they were 16 years old, so of course they needed help, from family. So all these things was going through his head until he actually sat down and was like, wow, I don't want to make the same mistake because I always knew that you had an issue with not having a father. And so you went through a lot with that. And then now, Keisha, you have this guy, he went off to college. You're trying to raise a daughter. What can you say? What was some of the things that were even going through your head as far as the pressure? Did you finish school? And then what were some of the mistakes that you can see during this time? And what was some of the promises that were made during this time? Because you actually finished high school as well. And
Yeah,
so tell
I,
us a
I
little bit
did.
about what you went through.
Well, what I went through is that 16 happened to Cora. of course, there was no option for me but to finish school. And my mom made sure that I had all the support that I needed to finish school, whether she had to stay at home with Takora or watch her, whatever. Um, but by time my senior year, I was pregnant with my second child, not of Demetrius, Marshawn's, but my second child.
Yeah.
So, what was going on through my head and the trauma and things that I was going through, and I'm not going to say trauma anymore. I'm gonna use it as an experience. Because I was an adult. I was an adult way before I even hit 16. Growing up in a household where my mom was a gambler and my dad lived in Philadelphia. And again, during the crack pandemic and all of that, that's what made me come to St. Louis, because I was living in Philadelphia for a minute, and I had to come home because of family, dysfunctional family in
Yeah.
Philadelphia. And so what was going on is that I definitely had to finish school. I did. I had college courses that I was going through. I actually had a scholarship before I even finished school, but because I got pregnant with my second child, I was unable to accept that scholarship to Rolla. And so it was just more or less like, you just got to do it. Whatever it is that I had to do, I did that, and I tried my best to keep a job as well as go to school and raise my daughter and her sister when she came along. And so there was no stopping. That you just can't stop. That was all that was going through my head. No promises was made. Just just the fact that and I'm gonna go back to what Marshawn said. We had a conversation before he went off to school, like, hey, do you think I should stay home and help you raise her, or should I go on off to school? And we both decided that it was just best for him to go on off to school and not stay home. So that was no issue there. We've always had like an open relationship or a conversation where we can talk about certain things when it came to her. You know what I mean? And what would be best for her and what would be best for us in our lives. And we made that decision together, like, look, somebody's got to do it, somebody's got to go. Shoot, if I can't do it, which I wasn't able to do it, it was best for him to do it. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's got to make a difference. Somebody's got to break the chain. You know what I mean?
Break the chain. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I live with that, and I stand by that. And I'm still happy that we made that decision. You know what I mean? And it was no problem. So when he was able to co-parent with me, he did. Whether he was ready to accept the responsibility or not, whenever he came around, it was still no problem. No problem.
So I'm just gonna throw in a free question, because you guys first of all, y'all, they just have this cute relationship. Like they always have been transparent, open with each other. They really like friends. Really could have been really best friends. Did you guys ever get back together afterwards though? Because I think the inquiring minds want to know. Did you guys ever get back together anywhere up in there?
Yeah.
We tried. We talked, we conversated a little bit about how far it went, though. We tried.
Well,
okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Takora. But however, we gonna move right along.
After I got back to school, we tried.
Yeah, she tried.
She tried it.
Yeah, she tried.
I love you.
She tried.
Takora, no. She off her dad right now. Okay, next question. All right. Okay, so Marshawn, in this book, page 87, Toco wrote about daddy issues, which is common in the Black communities. Father issues. It's common because a lot of us wasn't raised with our fathers or had half and half. But I love your relationship now, because she wrote about how your dad, when she with her dad now, if she didn't talk to you a few days, you'd be like, so you acting funny? Because we do that in St. Louis. If we ain't talking to somebody, so you acting funny. So why you ain't called? You acting funny? That's the first thing we say. Somebody could be almost dying, and we like, you acting funny. And so how did you feel about her openness to this subject of daddy wounds? And if you can change anything back then, what would you change as a father?
I mean, I'm glad I got the preparation of that, knowing that it was in there, because I did that first. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But with the daddy issues, I kind of knew what I wasn't doing. So it wasn't no shock what I was doing. I kind of knew the issue she was going through, just not to the extent of it. Because I know the times I went through. I know I was just buying her shoes, you know what I'm saying? Not giving that love that she needed. Even when she came to stay with me, I was just trying to do what I thought what I was supposed to do. Because, and I say that because I didn't get that love. If I couldn't get the love, how can I give her that same love I never got growing up as a child? So I just thought I did what I had to do, just be there financial, give anything she wanted, So because I got spoiled, me being the only child, but I never got spoiled as a child. That makes sense. So hearing daddy issues, as a father, as a man, you think negative. I didn't think negative at the time because the things that I didn't do made her strong later down the line to make decisions and be able to handle stuff that comes that way because that's what I got. That's how I got that thick skin, being able to speak my mind, being able to be vulnerable now where she's at now. I feel she's very vulnerable, to me as a child, keeping everything to myself and knowing she went through the same thing. I seem like it wasn't bad what I did, but it wasn't good. Because it made her who she is, be able to handle things like that, be able to get through situations and stay strong. So when I heard daddy issues, I didn't look at it in a negative way. I looked at it, that was how we had communicated in sort of sense. With me and her relationship early in those years, I had my moments where, I felt bad. I wasn't doing this. I should have been doing that. After I noticed we had a talk about it, then it hit me. But me thinking right off the bat, no, I don't think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing or what I was taught to do. So I passed that along. That's what I knew, all I knew at the time. So daddy issues, and I look at it now, I smile now because, who she is now.
So what would you change as a father? If you look back, what would you change?
I would change me being more vulnerable. Because I never was that emotional father. I was always the drill sergeant. You know what I'm saying? So if I would open up more to her then, all that wouldn't, the stuff that she went through. So if anything, I would change that. Me being more emotional.
Yeah.
Because she tell me all the time, I'm that drill sergeant. I'm the drill sergeant.
Like your mama.
Exactly. I mean, I never whooped the squirrel. I think one time I could just give her that look.
That's all I need to be crying.
Just start crying. So,
you just look at me. No, I'm sorry.
My voice, the tone of my So if I could have broke that and balanced that out with the emotional, I think, I would say I would change that by myself.
Yeah. And, that's, wow. I see growth in you, cousin. I just want to tell you that. Because, wow, one thing about it, we did not have an emotional family. And so I can see where he got that from as well. And then you have to look at it. He didn't have his father. And so, and most men in St. Louis, they have this shield, this code of protection to not be vulnerable. And then you kind of mold that into the part of being in a family where we wasn't lovey-dovey. We didn't hug, we didn't kiss, we didn't say I love you 50 million times, which I think that's one of the reasons why we was very shielded and protected. Our heart was and Marshawn, he was even worse, okay? He just was an emotional kid and he irked your nerves. But however, I see that growth in you, cousin, that I'm loving this Marshawn, you know, because I feel like God is working on you. And it's a scripture, what the enemy meant for your bad, God has worked it out for your good.
You're
And
good.
so
Come on now.
although you experienced what you experienced, and Takora, you had these daddy issues, I love the fact that it worked out for your good, Takora, to make you this beautiful young woman today, and you able to talk about your emotions, you able to identify what you're feeling. A lot of people don't even know what they're feeling. So all throughout the book, you will pause and give your emotion, how you was feeling at that time. And so I love that God used this, you know, the Lord used this for his glory. And then you have a father now, the relationship and the bond that you had, because he also needed that healing. You know, he experienced so much as a child, and that I can even talk about it. I know things that he probably don't even think I know, that we experience and he experienced. So for him to just be open and vulnerable to talk about how he feel, and even shedding a tear, that's a whole nother level, you know, for him. And so I see your strength, cousin. I just want to tell you that I see your growth, you know, Marshawn, because I just know what you've been through. And to sit here and actually can tell your emotion. A lot of people can't even tell that pain, can't even, you know, have language to what they're feeling, but you do as a man. And so that's honorable. So I just want to give you that and give you your roses right now. And so, yeah, love you, cousin. All right, now you're gonna make me cry. I'm trying to hold
Yeah,
it
me
in.
too.
My eyelashes gonna get the popping. You know, got these
Uh-huh.
eyelashes on. Listen now, can you stop?
You know, I put on some makeup. I don't want my mascara to run.
And
Come
you
on
looking
now.
good. He already said, look, you got a little makeup. You know, it was really a comment. When people start off like, oh, you got your little makeup, you got your hair done, that's really a comment. He was really, you know, giving you a little comment, you know. But yeah. So let's move on, because I'm
Thank
feeling
you,
it.
though. Thank you for sharing that with us, though.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
I
That was
appreciate
deep.
that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Y'all doing a good job.
Only if y'all knew what only if y'all knew the
Yeah.
story. So we're gonna bring cuz we're gonna bring you back on here for that one. We're gonna really go deep into your story,
Into
but
that.
we're
Yeah.
trying to focus on Toco right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so reading Toco book really had me 1 minute fuming, one next minute laughing, then crying, then clutching my pearls, because like I said earlier, it was TMI. I didn't want to go into, I didn't want to, you know, read all of that, okay? I didn't want to go into that bedroom with you now. But
Yeah.
but however, did you all know about all the abuse, the drugs, the sex, all the stuff that was going on back then? And Keisha, you said yes. So evidently she was speaking to you about most of this. How did you know about this, and what was going on in your mind?
As a mom, you can see things, right? And so I would see things in our conversation when we would talk. Um, and I would just try to be as supportive as I could. Like the day, um, when she got pregnant, I knew that she was pregnant. Actually, her sister DJ came to see her in China, and they took a picture in the airport, and I was like, oh my God, I think she's pregnant. You know, I just saw that pregnant look on her. But I didn't say anything then because I wanted her to confirm it, you know. But then also, I didn't know in detail of the abuse. I didn't have to know that she was being abused verbally and physically. To what extent I did not know, because she's very private. Takora likes to handle things on her own, and everything. But again, as a mom, I knew my intuition kicked in, like, okay. And I would just try to give her the best advice that I can give her, knowing that she was so far away, you know, and I couldn't get to her. Like the day I would tell her months before when she was thinking about leaving, I was like, okay, you just have to pack your bag and hide it somewhere because that day will come, you know, and she did. Um, um, I would tell her, just wait till he leaves, you know what I mean? And then make your move. You're going to have to make your move.
Yeah.
But I also told her to, before She was pregnant with Hope, and they were going to get married. He wanted to marry her, and all of my family was dead set against her marrying him. But for me, this was a thing like, okay, my grandson is not going to be a bastard. Okay. And not only that, you are going to make this right for him. You know what I mean? And tie this and break those curses or those chains and bonds. You know what I mean? Make a difference. So I encouraged her to go ahead and get married to him, even though I knew of the abuse and everything. And everybody say I was wrong for that, but it was a way for Hope to be tied to his origin of his father, not just. And I know you're looking at me crazy, Marshawn, Daddy.
No, listen.
Yeah.
He looking at me kind of crazy.
Let's come back to God. Let's come back to God,
understand the
cousin.
logic of what I'm saying, okay? Because to me, that was a way to break those bonds or generational curses on our children. Okay, so it wasn't for her to stay in an abusive relationship. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't at all trying to
Yeah.
make that, but I was also trying to just tie him to his origin, to his people, for her, for his sake,
He does
you
have
know.
dual citizenship.
And he does have dual citizenship because of this, but it was bigger than
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that. It was bigger than just
Mm.
what she was going through.
Yeah.
We're talking about generational, and we're talking about bloodlines, and we're talking
Yeah.
about understanding who we are and where we come from. So to me, that was an acknowledgement of that for him, for my grandson.
Marshawn,
So
I know you was looking like, what do you have
I
to
know.
say on this? What Takisha just said.
I didn't know probably any of it. None of it
True.
was going on. And I can truly say this is the first time that I can say this about, the family, your side of the family that I didn't know. I didn't find out. She came home. I didn't know till she went back that what was going on.
Hmm.
No, ain't no going back.
Yeah.
Just because what I witnessed.
Yeah.
And for you to say, I mean, I understand to break the chain, but we have to break the chain from her,
Mm.
And I say this, I was raised a single mom. She can do the same thing without getting hands put on her, or mentally, physically abuse. So I disagree on that point, but I still I respect that. But I did
Yeah.
not know
Can
none of this was going on.
Yeah.
And I just hate they didn't tell me till after she left what was going on.
Wow.
yeah.
So I didn't know that part. So
Do
when I saw everything, it was like, it was, I don't know,
So
it was
when
a
I
little too.
left too, I didn't leave to go back to China. When I came back after the first
Right.
time it happened, I came back for two
To
weeks
St. Louis,
and it
yeah.
was to St. Louis, and I was depressed out of my mind. So I had a friend that lived in Japan that said, "Hey, come here. You can stay here, like regroup. You can whatever." It was like a town
So
next to
when
the
you came
ocean.
back to St. Louis, when you actually broke away, you
Yeah, that
went
first
back
time.
to Japan.
Yeah, I didn't go back to even when I went back because I stayed in Japan for a month. Even when I went back, I ended up getting a job again from one of the places that I performed. They asked me to come back in China, so I went back to China for a whole 9 months. I dated somebody else.
Hmm.
Would like
Yeah.
I even when I went back to China, I didn't go back to him.
You didn't go back to
So
him.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it didn't happen until that stuff replays. I seen him like I had been far away from him when trying to go
Okay.
back to him. I had thought I healed, and was starting over again. So
Yeah.
when I came when I went back, my family was let me go. My mom and it was okay with me going back because I wasn't even going back to China. I was
Okay.
going
You
to
was going to
Japan.
Japan.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Takora,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to your 19-year-old self? Because oftentimes when people go through such trauma, right?
Yeah.
There's a part of themselves where they was like, man, I wish I would have did this or said this, or, what would you, because this audience out here that's listening to this, they're experiencing this. And
Yeah.
so they're learning from this. They're being ministered to, listening to how you came out, because some people don't have the story, as we said earlier. Some people did not make it out. What would you say to your 19-year-old self?
So it's two parts to it. And I talked to my mom about this earlier. Standing where I stand now, one part of me would not change a thing. Because the simple fact that I get to minister to somebody, that this is not a light that gets shined a lot, and this is something that happens so common, domestic violence for men and women, and for it not to have a light, for it not to have a healed light, to where the women are coming out wanting to be whole again, the men are coming out wanting to love again, and it doesn't allow the enemy to win. So the fact that I get to come out and this glory goes to God, I wouldn't change it. Yeah, somewhere in there I would have told myself, girl, leave, stay away. But I wouldn't know what that looked like unless I went through it. Because nobody knows, not how, everybody says that. Why you ain't just leave? Why you ain't just put something in his food and, or do something crazy. Hit him with a
Yeah.
box of, I don't
People tell
know,
you that.
hot grits, and it seems so easy. And I always said this, and I said this in my book, the things, because I grew up with experiencing from family members of domestic violence. I seen it, and they didn't make sense to me. I had that same questions and the simple questions. But anytime you experience emotion, is overly when you overly experience an emotion of love, of lust, or whatever emotion it is, it never becomes black and white. It never is black and white. So when I actually, life had a funny way of the thing that I didn't understand, allowing me to understand. And it was one in my mind as a child that puzzled me the most. So it's that thing that's like, I wouldn't change nothing. Because I now get to talk to somebody and hold the space for somebody that is in it, or not hold the space, because I also tell people, when you're ready, you're ready. And I can talk to you until you blue. People talk to me. I went back. I left about 20 times. I dated somebody else that wanted me to marry them, and was another wealthy man that was just a God-fearing man that, would have probably been perfect on, But when I was ready, I was ready.
You was ready.
And anybody else, when you're ready, you're ready. You'll take the dive. Anybody that is in that situation, honor your silence. That's going to be the biggest thing that I can give anything. Because in the silence, you know what you need. And you are going to let you know when it's time. God is going to let you know. He's going to minister you.
Yeah.
Minister to you in those silent moments.
That is
I
so
wouldn't
wise.
really change.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. That was so wise. That was a wise response. Yeah. So, Marshawn,
Yes.
what would you say to your 16-year-old self that had a child at an early age experience life on a whole nother level?
What would I would say when I was 16? I would say still be me, still be who I am. I mean, I was put here for a reason. And one of that reason is she got what she got. She learned from what I went through. So if I say anything that I tell that 16-year-old, just try to balance it. Being 16 with a child, trying to play ball, being a star, Now I would look at it differently, like, be that both father and son, or father and wife and son. Be their father and, be there for her, you know. Just be happy and don't have and I would say this, and I would say that don't hold that grudge. Cause that ate me alive. That ate me. that ate me.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I was gonna say. You always been a grudge holder. I'm gonna tell you, even when we was younger, he would save his snacks to eat last so he can look at us. He did. We're gonna talk about it on the new All in the Family with all the cousins.
Right, right,
This
right.
guy would wait till everybody else eat this snack and then he eating it. We look like, let us have some. Nope. Like, why did you save it? Why you just didn't eat with us? But he was very petty. But I must say, yes, don't hold grudge, because we have to learn to forgive, and that stuff eat us up. That's why a lot of people's sickness, they have heart attacks and cancer. It's just eating them up, because what we don't know, there's a spiritual aspect to illness. And so when you're unforgiving, that begins to eat you up. You become bitter. You become aggressive towards situations. You become hidden in your emotions. You have to release it and you have to let it go, because God said, how you expect me forgive you if you don't forgive your brethren, if you don't forgive the people that have harmed you or treated you wrong? Because every day we sin against God. Okay, would God hold that grudge? No, He would literally let it go. He would forgive us, and He do all day. We are a jacked up mess. Don't you see this shirt? I'm ugly without Jesus, y'all. Go get it. Okay, I am ugly without Jesus. Go get this shirt. Okay,
I didn't see the Jesus.
Go get that Jesus shirt. Okay, because we are ugly without Him. Okay, and so God just wants to let us know, like, let it go. Let it go. It's not even worth it, because that person gonna be feeling fine on the other side, and you're gonna be a jacked up mess. Okay, and so because they ain't thinking about you, you thinking about them, they ain't thinking about you. And so, Keisha, what would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Yeah, like Takora said, we kind of spoke about this a little earlier, and I had to take a dive, right? When I read the question, I said, "Wow," because when I go back to my 16-year-old self, of course, I have to replay all of these experiences, right? I have to open up all of these files of what I went through, right? So my knees buckled and my eyes watered, right? And my heart got heavy, right? So, but I would tell her that you're more than enough. You're capable and able to have all things and more abundantly if you just stay focused. Stay focused. I cried. I'm not gonna tell you. I had a whole day of just like, I had to,
So, Takora, tell us what God was speaking to you during this time. What do you believe God is saying, and kind of minister to the younger millennials, okay, according to what you have went through, and kind of minister a little bit to them?
So I think in this, one thing I learned, and one thing that I took away from my whole experience is just how powerful silence is, and just how powerful the present is. And I think because our world is going to keep speeding up, and more technology and more things are going to be grasping for the space in our life, and our attention, our eyes, our ears, our minds. The only way, and since before time when they would go up to the top of the mountain to get silent, to hear from God, that's still a space that we have to honor no matter what. And I think my generation and generations after that are missing that. So the biggest thing I would say, no matter what, how far God is going to take you, and the blessings, of course, we're going to yes, that is all. But the silence, because I think there's still something so new He wants to do in us and through us that eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard. He can only honor that in that silence, in those, because it's, with every being a copycat right now, and everything just kind of looking the same, there's nothing new. There's nothing fresh, and I believe God is wanting to do something fresh, like the people that He wants to bring together, like the connections, the spaces, the yes, we've seen people go to space, but just really to really blow our minds, and the only way He can really do that and blow our minds and really allow this to be a new generation, and there be new problems, new things, like that silence is going to have to be honored. So the type of artist He wants in every industry, He wants His people there, and I think if we honor our silence, it's gonna. So that's the biggest thing. Even in your whatever you're going through, that's still going to be what you need to honor. Even if you're in a good space, to go from glory to glory, I think to go from, wherever, just to be truly what God wants to do in this earth. Like, it's just that silence. It's going to be so powerful, and it's an honor in that present moment. So
it's funny that you say that, because at church on Sunday, one of the minister of music, one thing that she said, just stand still, just be quiet, just be silent and hear God, because God be wanting to speak, and sometimes He just wants us to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Don't move. Silence, just hear God. Sometimes we just too busy, and that's the function of this world. And like you said, the generation you're in, the generation afterwards is just so busy. All the technology, all the things. It's this one song by Jonathan Reynolds, my husband put me on, Make Room. You guys go hear it. That song just, oh my God, it's called Make Room. And it's like, I don't want to pick up my phone, no social media. Let me make room for you, God. Because sometimes we can be so busy, we don't want to sit still and hear God. We just too busy. Come on, sit down, Martha. Won't you get like Mary and sit at God's feet? Okay? Sit down, Martha. You're too busy.
Several seats.
Several stadium seats, more than just one seat. Take the whole stadium, Pepsi Center, wherever you at, Staples, just sit down in all of them. And so this was so good, guys. I am so happy to have my family. I love the All in the Family segments, because my people, my friends of the show get to see my family. You get to meet my family and see where we came from. And then also, I got some family that know Jesus, okay? We ain't all crazy. We got a lot that's crazy, but we ain't all crazy. And so I love All in the Family. You guys gonna see more of Marshawn, because he's gonna be back on. We're gonna have an All in Family. It was his idea too. We're gonna have an All in the Family segment with all the cousins, and we're just gonna talk about different things. We're gonna be transparent and real, just like this show. You seen how crazy they is? Y'all seen? No, but good crazy. I love my family, and thank you guys so much for trusting me, Toco, to tell your story on my show. This book, guys, go get it. It is really a powerful book. Tons of pages. Look, I gotta turn around. Look, but tons of pages. It's full, okay? And so she got it in a cute box. It was wrapped. It was so pretty. And so I'm so proud of you, Toco. Let them know how they can reach you. We're gonna have all this information in the description, but let them know how they can reach you. What's your social media handles?
Social media on Instagram and Facebook, I am Toko Watson, TOKO WATSON. And that's usually where I spend the most time. Email Toko TMI, Toko TMI at gmail.com. Once you get the book, email me, write it, share your opinion, your observation, whatever it is, because that book is also going to be a second edition that's going to come out this year, that is going to kind of pull in people's reactions and just responses. And then there was more I wanted to add to that book, but God told me that was it, because I had to trust the process, and He wanted me to honor the next level and pull in different things. So yeah, that book will be a second edition, and hopefully maybe one of your opinions or insights will be in the book. So yeah.
Wow. Listen, I am so excited for what God is going to do in your life, Toco. Listen, I'm telling you, God is going to make you reach levels that you can't even understand. Okay. There's a depth to you And God is going to allow you to reach the nation. Some people is called into the four walls, but it's a lot of people called into the marketplace. So God is really going to use you for this generation to really snatch them out the fire. And so get ready. I'm so excited about your journey. I know I'm going to be a part. We have more to talk about, but we're going to talk. There's so many things that God is doing in your life. I bless God for your parents, Marshawn and Keisha. I thank God for y'all. I cannot wait until the new All in the Family. And so listen, Toco, if you have anything left to say, go ahead and say it. We're going to end for tonight.
I love y'all. I love y'all.
I love y'all. Ain't she funny? Anything you want to say, Marshawn, before we end for tonight?
I love my baby. I love my firstborn. I love him. And I say this. I'm going to say this. I give her mother a lot of love in a sense of what she done, what she did.
Yeah.
Where I went through it. So I always tell her that, but so everybody didn't know. I give her that.
Yeah. Aw, big ups.
Yeah, we honor each other, you know what I mean, for who we are and what we do. No matter what we've been through, we have to allow each other to just be able to grow. You know what I mean? Just allow that growth, allow that time. I know that time heals all things, you know what I mean? And so I am just thankful to you, Brandy, and I thank God for you for having this space and this platform for us to talk about the truth, for us to get it out, for you to be so open and transparent and have us on. So thank you. I appreciate you. I've always loved you and been fond of you from the very beginning since day one. Day one, you've been my heart. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's facts.
So
That's
thank you.
facts.
Thank you. I thank
Actually,
God for you.
Brandy, now that I think about it, and I think I said this to you. When I first came back, you reached out to me and you said something to me before I was even writing a book. I was just journaling. You told me that I could come up there, and if I wanted to in Colorado, I could come stay and I could write my book. I wasn't thinking about a book per se, but you said if I wanted to come there, I could, and I could write, and I could stay there for a while, and I could write my book. And it
Wow.
dawned on me, and then just little pieces that I think about, like even my friend, I had to reach out to her, and she was like, your life sound like a book. Like it just sounded like a book. Before I even was like, I'm gonna write a book per se. I was just journaling. But yeah.
I remember
You
that.
said that.
I remember, and I think it's in a Facebook post. I think it's in an instant. We're gonna have to look at that. Come on, God, won't he do it? Come on. Now I need 10%. Okay, I need finder's fee. Okay, now
can I get some edited credentials? How did she credentials?
Look, your dad got some new way. Okay. But yeah, this is so powerful. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Woo! So listen. Yeah, I'm sitting back here crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me fix my makeup. Let me fix my eyelashes. Thank you, Marshawn, Toco, Takisha. You guys really set off season 4. Okay, you laid the foundation of season 4. This is how it's gonna be this season. We're not holding anything back. We're gonna be transparent. We want to really dig in deep. I don't like that surface mess. Okay, this is why this show is called The Spoken Truth. Okay, we want to talk the truth. We want to be real and honest and transparent. So you guys set the tone. Thank you, cousin. And let me just say this: I'm so proud of Toco. She came on here just letting it all out. Guys, this book, I'm not even done reading it, but this book, gosh, everybody needs to order this and support this young lady. Being 27, experience what she experienced at the age 19, and now have a story and love Jesus, okay? And she really loved God. I sat and talked with her for a minute, and we really have this certain bond that I really appreciate. She's my second cousin. Marshawn is my first cousin. I grew up with him. So she's just like my niece, because I really thought my cousins was my sisters and brothers. It was kind of weird because all of us lived in the same house, okay? Grandma was like granny, we call her granny, G-mama, grandma. She was like that it factor for us. She was that strength of the family. And so to see him and his daughter and the bond that they have, they are best friends, okay? If Takora do not call him, he calls her like, you acting funny, you know? And so they have a really good relationship. And he only have 2 children, and he have this great relationship with his children. And what he experienced growing up, not having a father, to see him now is a blessing. And then he also gave shout out to his child's mother, Keisha, which we grew up with her. We know her. She always been a beautiful spirit. What you see is what you get with her. I had to edit a lot of things, if you can see on the show, because you know you just can't bring your family members on the show because they even drop a couple of cuss words. I'm like, really, this is a Christian show. How many times I got to tell y'all this? But anyway, but it was real and it was raw and the emotions was flaring. So it's a lot of things I had to edit. So maybe I'll do a bloopers and have my editor to edit the words, okay? I mean, geez, goodness. And then he talking about he want another segment of All in the Family and be on there. No, he did an excellent job. I love you, cousin. I thank God for you. I see your growth. I see what God is doing in you. And listen, he have a degree in marketing. We having him to come back and do some stuff for us, do some stuff for Takora. You know what I'm saying? We need to get him back in business, okay? And so he's so intelligent, so smart, so bright. And I saw God just do something like a total 180 in his life. There was a shift. And so he's not a social media guy, so I can't even tell you where, you know, Toco, give your daddy's a social media account, okay? But he's so, I mean, he's really, really smart and intelligent. And to see him open up and cry and be emotional, that's another level. And so I love you so much, cousin. I can't wait to see what God do. He's going to help me produce the other All in the Family with all the crazy cousins, even the one that said she loved all the scriptures, didn't have a scripture on the show. And then the one that was singing Down, Down, Baby, you know, Natalie, like, okay, I'm like, really? And so we're going to have them back on the show so we can kind of tell you a little bit about our family individually, in our family, what we experience, and to really minister to people, you know, because so many people feel like they the only ones. No, you're not the only one. Everyone have a crazy family. Everyone deal with father wounds, daddy wounds. Everyone experienced a crack cocaine epidemic where they did not have a mother. They grew up with their father. And then we want to show you guys how all of that we went through, our family actually now stronger than ever. I'm like this with my mom. I talk to her, if not twice a day, every day. You know, the sisters, they really close. The brothers, these are, you know, the brother kids, the sister kids. We really, really close family, but we went through a lot to get here, and a lot of forgiveness. And so I want to speak forgiveness, okay? Forgive those, whoever you feel like hurt you, wounded you. Maybe you went through abuse. Maybe you went through sexual abuse. Maybe whatever you went through, you have to let it go and forgive them. Give them to God. God will take care of them, as you see in Toko's story. God took care of her enemies. You know what I'm saying? And not to call him enemy per se, but he was an enemy then with what he was doing to her. Okay? So whatever your enemy is, call it out and say, you know what? I'm letting you go. Bye. Bye, sir. Bye, ma'am. Bye, devil. You know, you cannot let them have a grip and a hold on you like that. It eats you up. Do you understand? It's a spirit, and it will eat you up, and you'll be dead somewhere and your enemy's still living. So you gotta let them go. So I just thank God for them. So listen, I see all my family out there. I love y'all so much. My niece, Lachey, y'all, she's in the building. Alicia, Jenny is in the building. Jenny, she watch all the shows. She may not catch them live, but she was able to catch this one live. I saw all my family members. Thank you so much. My auntie Angie, thank y'all so much for joining. Natalie, I mean, she was in the chat. She was making sure y'all go by I'm Ugly Without Jesus, the apparel. I love Natalie. She's a super friend. And Lisa, she's a super friend. So thank you guys so much for joining on tonight. So I got one more. We do on All in the Family. If you've seen all the segments, I have the links in the chat. If you did not see all in the Families, go look them up because we have fun on the show. But what I do want to say to you is that even though like this is a tearful moment, and you know, I know a lot of y'all probably felt like me, like, oh my goodness. But I want you guys to know, like, Toco have joy now. She's in a space that never been in her life. But she suffered abuse. And so it's many of y'all that experience abuse, and I'm going to go back to one more bonus video. But many of you guys probably suffer from abuse, And so I want to make sure if you out there though, if you're experiencing or you know someone, I want to make sure I give you a resource, and I have resources also in the description. But if you are experiencing any abuse, listen, contact 1-800-799-SAFE, okay? And go to hotline.org. I mean, this is a site where you can call, you can do chat messages, you can reach out to them, and they will provide help, okay? And if you're going through something, inbox me, inbox Toco, inbox anybody. You need help. You can't do it alone, okay? And often times we don't know what abuse look like. Like Toco said, it was cool, it was good in the beginning, and then next thing you know, the hitting, okay? And so, oftentimes we don't know what that look like. If a person is jealous, telling you that you never do anything right, showing extreme jealousy, your friends or time spent away from them, they very extremely jealous because they don't like that. They want to push you away from your family. They're preventing or discouraging you from spending time with family and friends, insulting, demeaning you, shaming you, especially in front of people. And sometimes they can have that mask up in front of people. They're very nice, but behind closed doors, they beating on you or whatever the case may be. Controlling finances, preventing you from making your own decisions, hiding laptops, as Toco experienced. He was hiding, all of her gadgets and things of that nature. Listen, that is abuse. And go to hotline.org. It actually say a lot more about abuse and ways that you will know that you're in an abusive relationship, okay? And so listen, go check that out. If you need any help, listen, contact a friend, reach out to somebody, go to this hotline.org, contact them, okay? You need to get away. But like she said, sometimes it's at your time and some people don't want to do it. So if you're a family member, pray for them, okay? And when they come to you, love on them. And when they ready, hey, listen, me, myself, and I'm packing bags, I'm sending tickets. I'm like, you finna get up out of this, so you need somebody that will love on you, not judge you, but also be there for you and pray for you. And so if you're experiencing that, please contact them. So I have one more video. It's very short. It's a 2-minute clip. We play this game called You're Not From St. Louis, If What? Okay? And so we did this on the show. So I want to show this 2 or 3 minute clip and hear the responses. Okay? So let me just go ahead and show this clip. It's so funny. And guys, we'll be right back and then we're going good night. Okay? Okay, quick question. We cannot forget this. I had to add this in. Marshawn, starting with you. You are not from St. Louis if you don't know what?
Marshawn.
For real.
So you from St. Louis?
You don't know him.
Oh, okay.
I cannot. See what I'm saying? This is our good family fun game, okay? And we always got that one, okay? Like y'all saw Shay on first episode, that one, okay? Anyway, I guess that's his answer.
Emos.
Okay.
Saints. You don't know Saints.
Nobody said that ever. Thank you.
Saints.
Yeah, you don't know Saints.
Sure.
All right, Takora, you not from St. Louis if you don't know what?
I said earlier, Crown's Candy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crown's Candy.
Everybody, if you ain't from St. Louis, you ain't gonna know that. You ain't gonna know it like that.
Nice.
Crown's Candy.
That's a
They
good
make
one.
their own ice cream. Do they make their own chocolate too?
Yep, chocolate candy. Yeah.
Right,
Fitz's. No, I don't know if Fitz's got.
Ain't it on Cass? Crown's Candy on Cass?
It's on 14th and St. Louis Avenue.
That's it. Yes, 14th and St. Louis Avenue. All right, right. That's a good one, Takora. Keisha, you not from St. Louis if you don't know what?
If you don't know Forest Park.
Forest
If you
Park.
don't know Forest Park, I mean, Bunker Hill, Arch Hill, we used to slide down those hills in the wintertime, you know what I mean? If you don't know the Bunker Hill, you don't know St. Louis. And if you don't, I mean, what else? Oh,
Fairground Park.
Do anybody
the Mayday Parade? The Mayday
Parade. That is the second largest black, but it's also the second black largest parade in the world.
It used to be.
It used to be.
Yeah, it used to be.
Then they shortened it up, put it downtown.
But wait a minute. You not from St. Louis if you don't know the riverfront when we used to hang out.
The riverfront.
I was gonna say that too. The riverfront. Yes,
we call it the riverfront.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Boy, ain't that a good one? You say,
That is.
and you remember you bring your
Now.
Yeah.
you drink.
At the copper
Drinks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you find your little parking space in the cut.
Yeah.
And everybody hang out down there.
Everybody walking with it.
Come on, the riverfront. You don't know about
Yes,
that?
indeed.
Listen, last
You don't know
episode
about-
we had a cousin that talked about you not from St. Louis if you don't know about Hall Street. Yeah, I know she was talking about the workhouse.
No,
What?
no, not the workhouse.
We said
Of
Hall
all
Street.
things.
You right, you ain't from St. Louis if you don't know about Hall Street, I guess.
You don't know about
That's
East
where the
St.
workhouse-
Louis. You ain't from St. Louis.
If you don't, yeah.
How you
East
be
St.
from
Louis.
St. Louis and don't
East
know
St.
about
Louis.
East St.
East
Louis?
St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, that's all for tonight. Thank you so much for joining the Spoken Truth Talk Show. I love my family. But guys, listen, next week we have another powerful show. Go check us out next week, the same time, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. for our Central Standard folks, guys. We have Girlfriend Talk next week. Is going to be so powerful, going to be so awesome. Actually, Natalie will be there. And also, we have another fave that everyone loves, Sierra, will be on Girlfriend Talk with your girl. And we're going to be very transparent. We have the lines open. You can call in and get in on the Girlfriend Talk. We're going to talk about some deep stuff. We're really going to do some girlfriend talk, okay? So see y'all next week. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget, go to the SpokenTruthApparel.com. I have it in the description box. And go ahead and purchase one of these shirts. What you waiting on? Go ahead and purchase. And listen, like and subscribe. Like this video. It actually pulls up the algorithm and it allows us to be seen with many, many people across the globe. So go ahead and like this now and also share and subscribe to YouTube and like the YouTube page as well. Thank you guys so much for joining. Listen, see y'all next week. I cannot wait for you guys to see what we have in store for season 4. See you guys later.
How are you sending this energy? Through a telegram? I mean, what you doing with this energy that you said you're going to send me? I don't want that energy.
Y'all, I remind you to stay out of our stuff. Corey was pointing at you. I'm pretty sure we all on one. Yeah. And Benny was like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. There are dangers if we don't honor the word of God.